So when you start up AutoCAD, open up a new drawing file. Your screen should look pretty much like this one right here. Okay. Now, parts of the menu is that we have the application button. This is kind of like your open, save as, print, and all that stuff. Basically, your file pull down menu in most of your other programs. AutoCAD has its own thing right there, the application button, that takes care of that for you. When we do that, when we have this thing right here, we will have to rely on some of these to set up different print configuration and such, but we'll come to that when we get to that part of the lesson. Okay, the rest of the desktop will be a quick access, which is like new, open existing, save as, and print, and so forth. This is your return, undo, or redo kind of thing, and you'll have other menu items here. So this is your pull down menu, kind of like what that is, and that's that. We have here a pull down menu as well. Okay, so that's one way to get to use all of your commands, as well as these ribbons, which work like what you'd be using on Word or Excel or whatever. And each of these ribbon is basically your GUI command. So whatever the graphic user interface. So if you want to draw a circle, if you want to draw a line, it can be reached from here. Okay. Otherwise, if you want to go to the pull down menu, draw would be like where your line would be, your circle, all these other things. So again, just like Rhino, you have several different ways to reach a command. Okay. Most of the tab that we'll be using is the Home tab, maybe the Insert, and Annotate. Everything else will just go across as we come, as the need arises. But the main thing is the Home tab. Home tab is going to be your go-to command set. Okay. Right down here is your drawing window, and like I said, you could open up many different sessions all on one sitting. You could close, you could save, whatever that you want on this. You could keep adding more session as well. In the drawing window, you'll have this wheel, and it doesn't really make sense to do all this, but if you pay attention to the UCS, Universal Coordinate System, this is very much like right here. It's very much like your coordinate system in Rhino. You have the X line and you have your Y axis, right? Only thing missing on this thing is your Z axis. And why are we missing our Z axis?
This 2D.
Yes, this is a 2D drawing. You can get your Z axis if you go to like this view cube, hit this corner here, and you'll notice that you have a Z axis now. Okay, that's your blue axis, and if you look at your cursor, it's turned into a 3D cursor right there. Okay, but for now, we don't really need to do anything 3D on AutoCAD, so let's get out of this thing. Go back to your view wheel or view cube and go to the top. You got to be careful because sometimes when you do click on corners and such, you'll start looking at this drawing from different directions. So if I hit the edge right there, it's still a y-axis, it's still an x-axis, but it is three-dimensional, right? So if we're not careful, we might get a little bit confused. You can always use the cube to get back into a corner or what, or hit the compass points and keep turning these around. And it does help that it does say it's a right view, left view, and all that stuff. Or go to the cube and we might hit the top. When we hit the top, notice that the north arrow on mine is facing towards the left. So I want this in the correct direction. If I hover over this cube wheel again, I'll see these little arrows. If I turn it in the clockwise or counterclockwise direction, you could get it back to the X as the horizontal, Y as the vertical line, and again, like I said, Z is in up and down. Okay, but pretty much in this class you will not be touching this view cube. Okay, so don't worry too much about it. Only if your view goes askew, go ahead and mess with the view cube. Okay, so the drawing area, UCS, and then you have the layout. Layout is it's right here where it says model, layout 1, layout 2. We'll get to that when we start to put together a set of drawings, but what we're going to draw in is always in the model space, not the layout. Layout, if you do that, it makes it look like a preview of a paper, right? And basically this is a little window that peeks into the model space. So we'll come across this when we get to the lesson on that. But for now, please keep it in the model tab. Over on the bottom here, you'll have all along the bottom here, you'll have all of this application status bit. So you have like a display grid, snap settings, and all that stuff. And if you click on the very last one in the corner there, customization, go ahead and hit that. And we want some of these stuff on, like coordinate. If we click on that, you'll get the coordinate system on there, kind of like how Rhino would say you're going into the Y direction, X direction, how many feet, and all that stuff, right? Keep your model space on, grid on, snap mode is on. Actually, it's not really on, it's just showing that it is there. All this grid snap, or the grid, is this guy right here, the grid, right? So this is this. So make sure that there's a check in all these. Infer constraints, we could put that on or take that off as you need it. I usually don't have it on. Some people like to have that on. That's when you get to a corner and drag your cursor out so it'll draw a straight line from that point. If you like to use that, yeah, go ahead and click that on and you'll see it come up right here. The dynamic input, please click on this and uncheck it. Okay, so again, click on the dynamic input, and then over here where it's the dynamic input tab or the status, unhighlight it and keep it at that, and we'll explain why later. Okay, you want the ortho mode appearing, polar tracking, isometric drafting, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Line weights, as we work on line weights, we'll toggle that on. So for now, we could keep that off. And everything else looks pretty good. Units, I think we'll work on this a little bit later. We'll be putting that on in a little bit later. Okay, so as long as you have your check marks on this set, you should be okay.